Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the one and only DJ Storms. Welcome back to the channel here on YouTube.com. It is Sunday, March 24th, 2020. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the official rewind for AEW Double or Nothing 2, which took place yesterday evening on Bleacher Report Live with the buy-in pre-show starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you very much for tuning back in. Thank you very much for the support. Thank you very much for watching. As always, I greatly appreciate it. Unfortunately, YouTube wants to be dicks again, and YouTube wants to purge 6 of my subscribers, just like they did a few days ago. But then again, nothing's going to stop you from reaching DJ 2K. Trust me, I'm less than 20 away. I will get to DJ 2K. So just hang in there, people. Hang in there. The celebration is coming. Celebration's coming. But regardless of that, again, this is the rewind for AEW Double or Nothing 2. We are here to talk about all the matches that took place. Overall, just my opening thoughts, I would like to say that it was actually a very good show. It wasn't too overwhelming. But it was very good. We had a lot of great wrestling matches. We had a lot of questionable decisions that I will go over. And I do have a lot of criticisms and a lot of fair criticisms that I would like to air. But first things first, I do want to shout out a couple people. First things first, I actually do want to shout out Ant, A-N-T. He is a listener of mine. He is a supporter of the channel. He's supported me a few times. He is actually a musician that comes up with original raps for pay-per-views, whether they be WWE or AEW. He comes up with original raps for pay-per-views whenever the pay-per-view comes around. He actually came up with an original rap for AEW Double or Nothing. He posted it on his Twitter. If you want to go follow him on Twitter, it's Ant Won't Stop. A-N-T Won't Stop on Twitter. He is fantastic. He's an absolute prodigy. He is insanely talented. If you want to go listen to the rap, go and follow him on Twitter. The rap is actually pinned to his Twitter profile. I want to thank him for supporting the DJ Storms brand. It really does mean a lot. The guy is insanely talented. I definitely want to work with him one day. Well, think about it. I believe that we could work something out possibly in the next coming weeks. I'll be sure to talk to him. I've been busy myself. I actually have a lot of stuff to get done off of YouTube. I got to beef up that LinkedIn profile. I got to get set for my social media marketing class coming up at the end of June. So there's a lot of things to do. I could be going back to work. After NXT TakeOver in Your House. I do have the rundown for NXT TakeOver in Your House to do. I may or may not take a break from the LFU next week. I'll definitely do an LFU this week, but I may take a break from the LFU next week. But shout out to Ant. He's great. Go check him out. Again, go follow him on Twitter at Ant Won't Stop. Shout out to the Blue Riot. Me and him, we did a live LFU for about 2.5 hours yesterday. It's up on the channel right now. That's doing great. That has 20 likes. That has over 110 views. We talked about Raw, NXT, SmackDown 205 Live. We talked about Drew Gulak's release. We talked about how Asuka was not the original plan to win the Money in the Bank briefcase for the women. And we talked about Ember Moon and her career, how it may be over. I did a long-winded rant on that. Riot was actually laughing his ass off. You didn't see, but he was actually laughing his ass off. Shout out to him. You want to go check out the Lightning Flash update from yesterday. That's in the description as well. Please follow me on Twitter at HistoryMakerDJS. Follow me on Instagram and Periscope at TheDJStorms. Add me on Facebook as well. For collaborations and business inquiries, please send me an email, StormsTakeOver@gmail.com. And, of course, please like the official DJ Storms business page, and I may just send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms Posse group on Facebook. All the links are in the description. Please go check them out. Quarantine with Thunder episode number 9 will be up on Wednesday, May 27th. So please keep your eye out for that. And then, of course, the LFU will be up next Saturday, this Saturday, rather, since, last Saturday. Yesterday was Saturday, so this Saturday coming up, obviously the LFU, the flagship show for the DJ Storms brand. That's going up on Saturday. Probably another stacked episode, probably another 2-hour episode we got going on. I'm going to be researching some good news and rumors to report, and I'm going to be analyzing all the weekly shows like I usually do. Please hit that thumbs up. Try and get this video to 20-25 thumbs up. Please comment down below what were your thoughts on Double or Nothing. What was your favorite match of the night? And, of course, hit the subscribe button. We're on the way to 2,000 subscribers. Help me become DJ 2K, because YouTube apparently wants to purge all of my subscribers. YouTube wants to purge about 12 subscribers of mine within 5 days, so big fuck you to YouTube right there. YouTube wants to purge my subscribers. I say fuck you. We're getting to DJ 2K if it kills me. So please, please hit that subscribe button. Help me become DJ 2K. And hit the notifications bell with a huge coup de grace. That way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, it is the best time to be on YouTube. It's the only time where you're going to see me with this glorious sideburn chin strap combo and this beautifully grown quarantine stash as I comb it. And yeah, I'm combing it just to piss people off. Oh, I see you ladies. Anyway. Last but not least, Blue Riot Podcast. Shout out to the Blue Riot. Go follow Blue Riot on Twitter, at Blue Riot with 2 T's. Please go follow the podcast on Twitter, at Blue Riot Pod. If you want to go and pledge to his Patreon page, please go and listen to the podcast, and you will find out how to do that. You can listen to the podcast on all platforms where you find your local podcasts, whether that be on Podbean, whether that be on iTunes, whether that be on Anchor, whether that be on Spotify. Please go check it out. We have a review of Double or Nothing 2. So for those of you who listen to the Blue Riot Podcast only, those of you who listen to the Blue Riot Podcast only on all those podcast platforms, we will have the podcast up for you guys tomorrow. I'm going to talk to him, and we are going to organize a recording, and we'll get that up to you tomorrow. And then, of course, on Thursday is AEW Darkmite, the Blue Riot Storms review, where we go over AEW Dark and AEW Dynamite for the week. That's going up on Thursday. Anyway, enough of the self-brand promotion, enough of the advertisements. Let's get straight into the matches. So, buy-in pre-show, we had Private Party versus the Best Friends. This was a #1 contenders match to see who would face Adam Hangman Page and Kenny Omega next for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. This was fun. It was fun, but you can definitely tell that Private Party has a lot of ring rust. You can definitely tell that they were off. You can definitely tell that they were shaken, and that has to do with the fact that they haven't been wrestling in 2 months due to the fact that they were quarantined because of this entire pandemic, and we had to sit through an entire month of taped Dynamites throughout April. So obviously, Private Party is going to have ring rust. Obviously, Private Party is going to be in a situation where they need to fight back to where they were. They're not as crisp. They're not as slick. They're not as smooth. Obviously, we had a feeling it was going to happen to someone being away from the ring for so long. Obviously, you're going to get ring rust. Obviously, you're not going to be as slick and smooth as you usually are. We've seen plenty of better from Private Party. Obviously, they'll get back to where they need to be, but they were off. They were off. It was still fun. It was still fun, but it's definitely not up to par with what we're used to seeing from Private Party. That was the first thing that I noticed. The silly string DDT was actually botched very, very early. Trent actually came down hard on his knee. I'm actually surprised that Trent didn't get hurt here. I was actually thinking in the back of my mind, oh my God, we had Britt Baker. She got hurt on Wednesday. Please, not Trent too. So Trent came back with a big spear to Cassidy and a big Tope Con hero by Quinn taking out Trent. We had an assisted superplex by the Best Friends. Cassidy ended up getting the hot tag. Big moonsault to Chuck on the outside. Swinging flatliner on Trent for a 2. Best Friends with the Soul Food half and half combination. And of course they do the big hug with the Mega Okada zoom out. We had a big shooting star press into the knees. Because we had Cassidy. We had Cassidy pressing his knees up against Trent, holding him down, and Mark Quinn did a shooting star press to the back of Trent while the knees of Cassidy were pressed into Trent's chest. Private Party then hit the G9 in tribute to Crime Time. Big shout out to Shad Gaspard right there. Rest in power. We had a big shooting star press off the top, but Quinn was pulled to the floor. Cassidy was then taken out, and the Best Friends hit strong 0 for the win. Again, fun match. It was fun. Don't get me wrong. It was fun. It was entertaining. But at the end of the day, Private Party was off. They were sloppy. And obviously that came with the fact that they were not with AEW for 2 months because of this pandemic. Again, they will get back to where they need to be, but they were sloppy here. It was off. Still fun, but it definitely did not live up to the hype that I thought it was going to live up to. And that was pretty much the same with the Casino ladder match as well. I think a lot of people were thinking the same thing as far as the Casino ladder match goes. It had some insane spots here and there, but overall, it turned into a big clusterfuck with minimal highlights outside of a spot with Joey Janela and Orange Cassidy, Brian Cage coming out. He was the 9th participant. The stuff that he did with Luchasaurus was good. Luchasaurus powerbombing Kip Sabian onto the pile on the outside. It really just turned into a big mess. So the Casino ladder match kicked off the show. We had Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky starting off the match. We actually had a nice back and forth between the two SCU members before Kip Sabian. He drew number 3. Jimmy Havoc then came out. He started using the ladders on SCU. Havoc actually got dropped twice on the ladder. He got tripped up by Kazarian off the top rope, fell back first onto a ladder, and then he got German suplexed onto a ladder. Darby Allin came out at number 4. He just started taking out everyone. We then had Darby placing Kazarian on a ladder draped between the ring apron and the barricade. He took his skateboard, he went up to the top on the outside, and he went to do a diving double foot stomp with the skateboard. Kazarian moved. He ended up putting himself through the ladder on his own skateboard, and I swear, I'm surprised he didn't bust his knee. He was selling the knee afterwards. I'm literally surprised he was able to get back up after that. It looked nasty. So then Orange Cassidy entered at number 5. And he literally went over to the commentators and gave you one of the LOL moments of the night. He literally asked, oh yeah, how do you win? And they have to tell him, Tony explained this to you. Tony Khan explained it to him about 5 times. You need to climb the ladder. And Orange Cassidy's like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, I gotta climb the ladder? Like, I've heard of lazy, but he's giving it a new definition. So he's literally like standing on top of a ladder and he's like trying to reach it. It's great. He's literally dodging anyone that came into the ring. Colt Cabana entered at number 6. Cassidy then took out SCU before Joey Janela came out at number 7. And Joey just started running around, jumping off of everything. He just started jumping off of everything. He started running around ringside. He jumped off the stage. He jumped over the barricade, jumped over the railing. Luchasaurus then came in at number 8 after Scorpio Sky took out Joey Janela with a chair. And we had a big discus knee by Luchasaurus to Scorpio Sky. Kip Sabian came in, and Luchasaurus with a deadlift powerbomb to Kip Sabian onto the pile. Darby Allin came in, and Darby Allin hit the code red off the top rope to Luchasaurus before he started to climb the ladder as the 9th participant was about to make his way out. 9th participant, Brian Cage. Yes, the Machine. Brian Cage with Taz as his manager. This is a huge acquisition for All Elite Wrestling. Brian Cage, I'm telling you, Brian Cage is going to be something special. Brian Cage, I've seen what he can do. I've seen everything that Brian Cage has done in Impact, especially the last few months of his Impact career. He's been a free agent for a while. Now he's here. And with Taz as a manager, this is very, very, very interesting. So Cage, he just starts laying waste to literally everyone before everyone ended up gaining up on Cage. And all the competitors literally piled ladders, chairs, and they took one of those huge poker chips and literally buried Cage underneath everything. So the match continued. Cassidy tried to choke slam Luchasaurus. That didn't work out. Of course it wasn't going to work out. Marco Stunt, he got involved. He ended up doing a mini fun-size choke slam with Luchasaurus' aid to Cassidy. Joey Janela, he then hit Orange Cassidy with a tiny ladder, and then he delivered a running Death Valley driver. This was probably one of the best spots of the match, where he delivered a running Death Valley driver off the apron onto the poker chip while Brian Cage was still underneath it. That looked brutal. So then Cage, he rose from the ashes and he took on Luchasaurus. And he had a nice back and forth with Luchasaurus before powerbombing Luchasaurus into a ladder. Darby Allin was then set up by Brian Cage. He was set up on top of the ladder, and Cage literally military pressed the ladder with Darby Allin on top of it over the ring, over the top rope to the floor. Darby Allin, I'm surprised, didn't die in this match. He should have died at least 3 times. Brian Cage then climbed the ladder, and Brian Cage wins it. A lot of people were looking forward to this, as well as I was. But by the end of it, especially with the fact that, someone could have won it before the rest of the competitors came out, which I did not like whatsoever. That's incredibly unfair to the rest of the competitors. I was not a fan of that whatsoever. I'm also not a fan of God knows how many people getting involved in this match. We had Taz coming out. We had the Best Friends coming out. We had Marco Stunt getting involved. We had Jimmy Havoc getting involved, which I still don't understand the pairing with Kip Sabian to begin with. But this did not work out very well. We had a good spot here and there. Brian Cage was a nice surprise. The back and forth with Luchasaurus was very nice. But by the end of it, this didn't turn out to be anything special. This turned out to be very sloppy at times. This turned out to be just a clutter. It really just turned out to be a clutter. This was one of the worst matches of the night. This was probably the second worst match of the night. And that's something that I was not expecting whatsoever, because I actually was looking forward. I thought this match was going to be the best match of the night. Turned out to be the second worst. Now, Brian Cage, don't get me wrong, Brian Cage, I called Darby Allin to win, but Brian Cage winning, this is definitely intriguing because it definitely shows you how much investment that they have in Brian Cage. And the partnership with Taz, you can tell that they have big plans for Brian Cage. And now Brian Cage is fighting the AEW World Champion, Jon Moxley, at Fyter Fest. Tony Khan actually announced it. Now, I don't know when that is. They said that we're supposed to receive details on that, I believe, this Wednesday on Dynamite. But this was not a good ladder match whatsoever. A good spot here and there, yes. Brian Cage was a nice surprise, but overall, it turned out to be very, very, very disappointing. And this was not a very good start to the show whatsoever. MJF versus Jungle Boy. This, however, this was great. This was great. This almost went 20 minutes. And let me tell you something. This match had absolutely no right to be as good as it was. This match was literally made over an interview with Tony Schiavone and MJF, where Tony Schiavone announced that MJF will be facing Jungle Boy at Double or Nothing, and MJF threw a hissy fit. That's literally the entire premise of this match. This is literally MJF's return match to pay-per-view after the 2-month quarantine. That's it. There's no other story. This match had no right to be as good as it was, and ended up being better than the ladder match. It ended up being one of the best matches of the night. And just goes to show you how good Jungle Boy is, that he brought MJF to his best match in AEW today, and vice versa for MJF. This was the best match for both Jungle Boy and MJF in their AEW careers thus far. And what does that tell you about them, that they were in the ring with guys like Jericho and Cody and SCU? Yet, they brought each other to each other's best match today. Excellent performance by both men. So Jungle Boy with a high cross body, but MJF answered back with a big back elbow. MJF with the backbreaker. He started to wear down Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy with 2 tope suicidas and a big tope con hero. We had a big springboard swinging DDT, but MJF got his foot on the rope. MJF with a big double foot stomp right to the arm, setting Jungle Boy up for the Salt of the Earth. The arm was the target for MJF the entire match. They got into a big chop off, delivering overhand chops Andrade style. We then had a super kick by Jungle Boy, rolling discus elbow by MJF, Canadian Destroyer, super kick, and MJF falls into the cover, but Jungle Boy kicks out. Great sequence right there. Jungle Boy locked in a crossface, but MJF was able to fight out of it. We then had a big Canadian Destroyer on the apron. MJF was then on the receiving end of a picture-perfect powerbomb from the middle rope. Beautiful looking move, but MJF still kicked out, and they started to trade pinfalls back and forth before MJF got the roll-up, a tight European package, I believe that they called it, and MJF gets the win. Great match, excellent performance, and by the end of this, there is no loser. There is no loser. Jungle Boy actually looked strong in this match compared to the past matches that he's had. This was actually better than Jungle Boy's 10-minute challenge with Jericho. And it just goes to show you how much investment that they have in Jungle Boy and MJF. What does it say about Jungle Boy that he's 22 years old and he's already putting on matches this good? Again, no story behind this match, and it ended up being one of the best matches of the night. And Jungle Boy and MJF proved to everyone that they are indeed the future of this company. They can wrestle at a main event caliber level when you give them the time and you give them the opportunity to do so. This was an excellent performance by both men. There is no loser in this match. There is absolutely no loser in this match. Jungle Boy, he got caught. He got caught. MJF was just a little bit quicker and he was able to hold Jungle Boy down for that tight European package. MJF gets the win. MJF continues his momentum in 2020. And MJF, by All Out 2, on September 5th, 2020, MJF and Jon Moxley is going to be your main event. MJF is going to be your new AEW World Champion. There's literally nobody else that is the picture-perfect contender to take that title off of Jon Moxley at the end of the summer. There's no one else. There's literally no one else. Cody versus Lance Archer for the TNT Championship. This is the tournament finals, and the championship was presented to the winner by Mike Tyson. So, before this match even started, Lance Archer literally was dragging out some random dude. I believe it was Shawn Dean. And he literally just chokeslammed a random dude in the ring. And as soon as he chokeslammed him, his theme song stopped. He dragged him right past Mike Tyson, and he literally just chokeslammed him in the middle of the ring for no reason while Roberts was dancing and shuffling in the background. I could literally watch Lance Archer beating up random dudes with Jake Roberts dancing in the background for hours and not get... If this entire show was Lance Archer just beating up poor bastards and Jake Roberts just dancing and shuffling in the background, I would literally have not complained whatsoever. I could literally watch this for hours and not get bored. This was fucking hilarious. So that got a huge laugh out of me. The TNT Championship said it was not finished. They need some gold plating. I don't mind the TNT Championship. I actually think it looks very old school. I actually like that they are giving all the championships a different feel in AEW. The only thing that I don't like about it is the wording. The wording on the title seems a bit too generic for me. I don't know if that's maybe that's just me nitpicking, but I don't know. I think the wording and the little strap in which it says TNT Champion on the main plate, I just feel as though it's way too generic. I don't mind the strap. I like the red leather. I like the silver plating. Even though we're supposed to get gold plating, I think it's going to look that much better. I do like the design. I just think the wording is a little bit too generic. That's just me. Now, this was good. This was a good match. But at the same point in time, I really have to say that, again, I am not a fan of all the outside shenanigans, especially the last few minutes of this match. The last few minutes of this match, it really was fucking annoying, and it really did make Lance Archer look like a complete idiot. It really did. I have no problem with managers getting involved, but when it comes to major pay-per-view matches like this, and you have a manager constantly get involved every now and then. This happens a lot with Cody's matches. The only match that I can remember that it didn't happen with as far as Cody's match goes is with Chris Jericho. Because it happened a lot with MJF, happened a lot with Shawn Spears, and it happened a lot with Lance Archer. Even the match with Dustin Rhodes, Brandy Rhodes actually got involved. I don't necessarily mind managers getting involved, but the fact that they do it so often, and I've said this before, it's such an outdated concept. It's such an overplayed concept. It's such a concept that really hampers a match down from what it can really be. And Lance Archer and a lot of the refs and everyone involved in all of these outside shenanigans, it really does bring the match, it really does bring the show, it really does bring the prestige of the championship and the tournament. It really does bring that down a bit. It was a good match, don't get me wrong. They told a good story, but at the end of the day, too many outside shenanigans. And on top of that, yes, it was a very questionable decision to have Cody go over. I'm not saying that Lance Archer's ruined. I'll talk about that in a minute. So Archer, he chokeslammed a random dude while Roberts was dancing and shuffling in the background. So the match started. Archer hit the blackout right out of the gate, but Cody rolled out of the ring. So Cody came back with a big suicide dive, sending Archer over the barricade. Archer then actually threw Cody from the railing over the barricade to the floor. Cody actually bounced as if he was on a fucking trampoline. So Cody with a stalling gourd buster to Archer. Archer continued to toy with Cody afterwards. Cody with a springboard bulldog off the top. Archer kicks out at 1. Cody with the final reckoning and the crossroads, but Archer kicked out. So Roberts was tied up with the ref. Arn got involved and he tripped up Archer. We had a big reverse superplex. Archer landed hard. The ref actually was greeted by another ref and Mike Tyson as well. Mike Tyson even got involved, said like, yeah, he got involved, so yeah, throw him out of there. So Arn threw him out, and then they threw Jake out as well. Archer, he got tied up with the ref after he motioned for Jake to come out with his snake bag, but Mike Tyson got involved. He pulled off his shirt, and Mike Tyson and Lance Archer, they got into a stare-off. Lance Archer looked like an idiot here. I fucking hate the mid-match distractions where someone, it doesn't matter who, whether it be a heel or a babyface, someone takes their eyes off of their opponent in the middle of a match to stare at someone on the outside of the ring, especially in a match like this. Like, that really just brings the entire quality down, and it really does piss me off. Again, it's outdated, it's overplayed, it needs to go away. It needs to go away. It's not good. It's not good at all. This led to Lance going for the blackout. Cody reversed the blackout into 2 crossroads, and Cody wins the TNT Championship. Good match. It was good. Overplayed with the the outside interferences and the manager's shenanigans. Lance Archer looked like an idiot with Mike Tyson. Good match still, but all of that other bullshit, it really needs to end. And I'm not just talking about with Cody's matches, I'm talking about with all matches as far as the major wrestling promotions go. You really need to limit that, because we have seen it so many times to a point where people don't even want to see it again. And I would be okay with never seeing a mid-match distraction from a manager ever again. Never again. Why did Cody win the TNT Championship? Now, this was questionable. I'm not saying that Archer's buried. Please don't be an idiot and don't say, oh my God, Archer's buried. Please don't say, oh, Cody Rhodes is selfish. Oh, Lance Archer's... Please don't be a fucking idiot and say, oh my God, this is a horrendous booking decision. Don't be a fucking idiot. Don't be a fucking idiot. This was not a bad booking decision. Just because it's questionable doesn't mean it's bad. I never said it was bad. I said it was questionable. I would have had Lance win. Now, that's just me. However, this doesn't mean that Lance is ruined. This isn't a Shayna Baszler incident where Lance Archer was built up by beating everyone inside of a fucking cage like the Elimination Chamber, only to lose in 8.5 minutes. This match didn't go 8.5 minutes. This match went 20-plus minutes, and he went 20-plus minutes with Cody. And he didn't lose. He didn't lose in 8.5 minutes after a back-and-forth match. He dominated most of this match. And this match went over 20 minutes. So Lance Archer's not ruined. Lance Archer's not buried. Lance Archer's still a monster. It's just questionable because now I'm asking the question, where does he go from here? And I feel as though it's the unpredictability that is really making us question the decision, where does Lance Archer go from here? Because everyone thought it was a foregone conclusion that Lance Archer was going to win the TNT Championship. Everyone thought it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to be the unstoppable monster to establish the TNT Championship going into the summer of 2020. I feel as though it's the unpredictability factor that is making us a little scared, mainly because of the fact that WWE has that bad track record. I understand that, but we need to think about this for a minute. I thought about it for a minute. Is it still questionable? Yes, it is. Would I have had Lance win? Yes. But at the end of the day, am I mad that Cody won? No, and neither should anyone else. Because realistically speaking, Cody Rhodes has been one of the most selfless individuals in the entire company. Put over Jericho, put over MJF, and he has made a lot of people. He's made a lot of people look great. And at the end of it all, this could end up very well meaning that Cody really is never challenging for the AEW World Championship ever again. He said he plans on retiring when he's 40. He's 35, I believe. He's 35, I believe, now, or he's going to be 35. If he's not already 35, I believe he's going to be 35 this year. If he really is never challenging for the AEW World Championship ever again, then this is his payoff. This is his payoff for All Elite Wrestling. That's it. He's going to be the first TNT champion, and he's going to establish the title, and whoever takes the title off them is going to be that much bigger of a star. Either way, whether it was Lance or whether it was Cody, the person that was going to beat the first ever TNT champion was going to be made into a star. So, at the end of the day, this actually does set up a very nice story. Now, I said that Lance Archer versus Darby Allin would be a great underdog storyline, but now that you have Cody as the TNT champion, now this opens up the door for Cody versus Darby 4 at Full Gear in the fall, possibly the early winter, and then you can play off the story that Darby Allin's never beaten Cody. You can play off the history that they have, and now Darby Allin has to go through the man that he's never beaten, that he's always come up short against in order to become the TNT champion. And I do believe that we're going to get Darby Allin winning the TNT championship from Cody in the fall. Cody Rhodes, again I state, this could very well mean that he is not challenging for the world title ever again. And if that's the case, then he needs a payoff. And this is his payoff. I had a feeling that Cody was going to be TNT champion at some point in his AEW career. I didn't think he was going to be the first champion. But regardless of that, Cody Rhodes is now the TNT champion. Good match. Again, I don't like the outside shenanigans. I would have had Lance Archer win. Lance Archer did look like an idiot. It was a questionable decision. But I'm not just going to shit all over it because AEW has not really given me a reason to completely shit all over him for a questionable decision. Just because it's questionable doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. This does open up the door for a lot of great opportunities. And this could very well not even be done. Who knows? Maybe Lance Archer could end up beating Cody down the line for the TNT Championship. Lance Archer, at the end of the day, Lance Archer is going to be just fine. He's going to be just fine. He's still a monster. He didn't look weak in this match. He looked very, very strong. We just don't know where he's going from here. And I feel as though the unpredictability factor, the fact that we don't know where Lance Archer is going from here, that is what is making us question this. And that's what made me question it. But, Cody Rhodes, if he's not going to be world champion again, then this is his payoff. And you can't really fault him for that. I think that a lot of people would agree that he can benefit now. He can benefit now from what he's been doing, and now he has a story to tell with Darby Allin going into the fall. So you can't really shit all over it. You can shit all over the match for being too overbooked, which in a sense it was. I mean, I'm just being honest right there. That's the truth. That's the fucking facts right there. However, I think that we're going to get a great story being told with Cody and Darby going into the fall, where Darby Allin will eventually become the second TNT champion. Lance Archer, he looked great. He did look like an idiot with Tyson, but he did look great here against Cody. Lance Archer, it is a monster. Lance Archer, we don't know where he's going from here. We'll have to wait and find out. Good match. Overbooked. Questionable decision. Penelope Ford versus Chris Statlander. This was a backup plan because Britt Baker is currently out, and this was perhaps the perfect interim match that you could have done as a cool-down match. Penelope Ford and Chris Statlander, This was not special whatsoever. It's not something that you're going to go back and rewatch weeks before the next AEW pay-per-view or the next AEW Dynamite or the next AEW special on Bleacher Report. This wasn't anything memorable, but this was clean, it was crisp, it was solid, and it got the job done. Got Kris Statlander a win. It's pretty much all we can ask for. Decent 6-minute match. Again, nothing special, nothing overwhelming, nothing you're going to go back and rewatch weeks before pay-per-view, but we got a decent 6-minute match, no fuck-ups, no miscommunications, no botches. And it just goes to show you what happens when you put the women in situations where they're going to excel. No overexposing the multi-women's matches anymore. Like I said, the multi-women's matches being overexposed have led to miscommunications, they've led to screw-ups, they've led to an injury. They led to an injury to Britt Baker. So at the end of the day, keep the women in situations where they will excel at until you can get more comfortable with them and they won't fuck up in the multi-women's matches. This, decent match, but again, nothing special. So we had Ford with a draping DDT off the middle rope, Randy Orton style. We had Kris Statlander with a suicide dive, taking out both Ford and Kip Sabian. Kip Sabian was actually on crutches. We had Ford with a hook kick, a modified black mass for a 2. We had a crisp roundhouse kick. The pop off the roundhouse kick from Kris Statlander sounded great. Crisp roundhouse kick and German suplex by Kris Statlander. Big Meishinuku driver for a 2. Penelope Ford with a Hurricane Rana off the middle rope. She went off the ropes but got caught in a blue thunder bomb. And then Kris Statlander hit the Big Bang Theory for the win. Decent match. Nothing special. 6 minutes. It did its job. Kris Statlander's back. Kris Statlander gets a win on pay-per-view, as she should, and Kris Statlander, more likely than not, will be your new AEW Women's World Champion by the end of the year. I do firmly believe that they are building up Kris Statlander for a major women's championship title picture, a major women's title reign, considering that they did push her very, very strong at the beginning of the year. I do think that they have big plans to push her again at the end of the year, and I do think that by the end of the year, Kris Statlander, the Galaxy's greatest alien, will be your new AEW Women's World Champion. Shawn Spears versus Dustin Rhodes. This was fucking embarrassing. This was embarrassing. This was terrible. This did not need to take place on the pay-per-view at all. Not at all. We had Shawn Spears coming out, trolling the crowd, saying, Dustin's not here, he's at home washing his tights. He came out in a suit. And he demanded that Aubrey Edwards count, and he demanded that Aubrey Edwards declare him the winner by forfeit. So then Dustin then ended up appearing behind Shawn Spears. Brandy came out to Dustin Rhodes' music, and Dustin Rhodes appeared behind Shawn Spears. Big hockey fight broke out. Big power slam by Dustin, and Dustin literally stripped Shawn Spears down to his black underwear, in which he had a picture of Tully Blanchard's face right on his crotch. Stripped Shawn Spears down to his black underwear and socks. Fucking crack was showing as well. Dustin hits the final reckoning for the win. This was fucking terrible. This was terrible. This did not need to take place on the pay-per-view whatsoever. And it didn't need to take place at all. If this is what the final product was going to be, you were better off not even having the match at all. This was an embarrassment to the show. This was an embarrassment to the pay-per-view. And this was an embarrassment to what Shawn Spears can really do. And then I got these fucking idiots coming at me in my mentions. Oh, well, Ric Flair was doing shit like this. Shawn Spears is going to be fine. Are you out of your fucking mind? Are you out of your fucking mind? You're comparing Ric Flair to Shawn Spears? When Ric Flair was doing shit like this, he was already an established star. He was already a multi-time U.S. champion. He was already a 10-time world champion at the time. He had already won the Royal Rumble. Ric Flair was already a fucking legend. Ric Flair was already an established star. He was already a bona fide Hall of Famer when he was doing shit like this. People aren't going to say that, oh, Ric Flair is being buried, because he was already, in their minds, a made man. Ric Flair was already made. They're not going to look at Ric Flair any different if he's already established. Shawn Spears hasn't even been established yet. The man's won no titles. Outside of his match with Cody and outside of his win over Janela back at Full Gear, the man has done nothing. The man has been a victim of wrong place, wrong time. And now you put him here after that great match that he had with Cody to kick off the TNT Championship Tournament. Probably the best match out of the entire TNT Championship Tournament. And then he was on a 3-match winning streak. Now you put him here against Dustin Rhodes, and you don't even have a legitimate match. This match went 3 fucking minutes. You strip him down to his underwear and socks with his crack hanging out, and you have him lose in 3 minutes to Dustin Rhodes. Please, do not even try. Do not even try to pull this bullshit on me. This was fucking embarrassing. And then I got people telling me, oh, lighten up. I will not fucking lighten up. I will not fucking lighten up. I take this shit seriously. This is not what I want to see on a wrestling program. This is not what anyone should want to see on a wrestling program. If this is the shit that you find enjoyment in as far as pro wrestling goes, you're the fucking problem. This was terrible. Terrible. Worst match of the night, bar none. Should not have even taken place. Should not have even happened. I do not want to see this ever again. And to be quite honest with you, it's going to take a lot. It's definitely going to take a lot for Shawn Spears to rebound over this. They've really killed all the value that Shawn Spears built up ever since that great match with Cody and the winning streak that he was on after the initial loss to Cody in the TNT Championship Tournament. This was fucking terrible. If you found enjoyment in this, I have no respect for you. Nyla Rose versus Hikaru Shida. No disqualification. No countout match for the AEW Women's World Championship. This definitely helped wash the taste out of my mouth from that terrible match with Dustin Rhodes and Shawn Spears. This was great. This was great. And again, similar to Penelope Ford and Kris Statlander, even though that match wasn't anything special, this match was great. This match, definitely one of the best matches of the night. Definitely, I would have to say, the second best women's match in AEW since the start of the women's division. The number one, of course, being Nyla Rose and Riho from the February 12th edition of AEW Dynamite, going into Revolution. Nyla Rose, whether you love her or whether you hate her, she is now a part of 2 of the best women's matches in AEW women's history. She's very good at what she does. She's great on the microphone, and when she's given the opportunity, when she's put in the correct situation, she can give you a damn good match. And that's what she did right here with Hikaru Shida. Nyla Rose, she utilized the kendo stick against Shida early on. Shida with a big knee lift. Shida was then caught by Nyla Rose on the outside, and Nyla military pressed Shida over the barricade into one of the poker tables that they had set up. Shida actually crashed and burned there. We had Shida with a big crossbody off the steps on the outside. Big running knee right to the back of the neck. I would not want to be on the receiving end of Shida's running knee to the back of the neck. Shida then ran up into the stands. She got some momentum and she ran through the stands. She jumped off of a poker chip setup with a big knee lift, sending Nyla into another poker chip. That looked great. We then had Shida taking the kendo stick. She started going to town on Nyla Rose. She had a big suplex on the kendo stick for a 2. Nyla Rose with a big diving knee right across the back of Shida's neck while Shida was draped over the top rope, but Shida kicked out. Nyla Rose brought in a table, and Nyla Rose hit the beast bomb to Shida through a table, but Shida still stayed alive. Shida with a beautiful avalanche Falcon Arrow off the top. Nyla was able to kick out. Shida followed up with a big knee strike, but Nyla still kicked out. Shida said, fuck this. She took the kendo stick, and I swear, just like A-Rod, she swung for the fucking fences and literally cracked the kendo stick right across the side of Nyla Rose's head. The kendo stick fucking exploded in her hand after that shot right off of Nyla Rose's head. Looked fucking brutal, looked nasty, and then followed up with another Shining Wizard, and Hikaru Shida is your new AEW Women's World Champion. This was surprising, and I'll tell you why it's surprising. I called Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose for the AEW Women's World Championship at Double or Nothing, And I called Hikaru Shida to win. But that was before all of this shit with the coronavirus took place. That was before all this shit took place. Nyla Rose, she was quarantined in California. She was quarantined in California with the AEW Women's World Championship, and she was not a part of those tapings throughout the course of April. Nyla Rose and her momentum, as I've stated before, it was halted because of the pandemic, and we didn't necessarily get a chance to see what Nyla Rose could realistically do with the Women's World Championship. If she would have gotten a Women's Championship title defense in before Double or Nothing, if she was able to get a women's title match in before Double or Nothing, then you know what? Yeah, I would have been saying definitely Hikaru Shida is going to win the championship. But the fact that Nyla Rose only had one title defense under her belt against Kris Statlander, it made me question what reason do they have to take the title off of Nyla Rose when she only has had one title defense? She doesn't have, she hasn't had enough opportunities to actually establish herself as a credible champion. She hasn't had enough opportunities to actually show us what she can really do. So at the end of the day, I was thinking to myself, Nyla Rose was going to retain, but at the same point in time, I wasn't really taking into effect how would they have built up Hikaru Shida after she would have lost. If she would have lost to Nyla Rose here, how would they have built her up again to face off against Nyla Rose? Would they have gotten another match in before All Out? Because they couldn't have had Hikaru Shida wait another 4 months before All Out 2 in September before we actually get another match between Hikaru Shida and Nyla Rose. Some people may attribute this to what happened to Hana Kimura, which is a possibility. That could be a case. But at the end of the day, in a sense, how would they have built up Hikaru Shida up enough, and how would they have made people care about seeing Hikaru Shida fight Nyla Rose again after a match like that? And it was a great match. It was a great match. It seemed as though it was the picture-perfect time to do it. And you couldn't have held off on Hikaru Shida anymore. You really couldn't have. It was time to do it. Realistically speaking, this needed to happen. And again, it sucks that we didn't get the opportunity to see what Nyla Rose could really do with the championship. If she would have gotten another title defense in against someone like a Big Swole, a rematch with Riho, I believe that they were probably building towards a rematch with Riho. We were probably going to get Nyla Rose versus Riho in a rematch sometime before Double or Nothing. But we didn't get that because Riho, obviously, she's stuck in Japan. She's stuck in Japan because of what's going on. In a sense, this needed to happen. Hikaru Shida needed her due. I'm actually surprised that they didn't go with the Hikaru Shida versus Riho at Revolution for the AEW Women's World Championship. I'm surprised Hikaru Shida didn't win the title then. But in a sense, this needed to happen because if Hikaru Shida didn't win here, then what would they have done to actually build up Hikaru Shida enough to make her seem legitimate enough, just like she seemed legit here? She's the most legitimate woman on the roster right now. She is their version of Asuka. Hikaru Shida realistically needed her due. Hikaru Shida realistically was the best representation for the AEW Women's World Championship. And if she didn't win here, then it realistically would have been a missed opportunity. It realistically would have been a missed opportunity, and it realistically would have hurt Hikaru Shida in the long run. And again, it sucks that the pandemic really halted Nyla Rose and prevented us from seeing what she could really do with the championship, but this, in a sense, needed to happen. And at the end of the day, Hikaru Shida with the championship, that's 2 thumbs up from me. 2 thumbs up from me. It was a great match. Both women looked great. Nyla Rose looked great. Hikaru Shida looked like a beast. This was probably one of the best matches that Hikaru Shida's had since the match with Kris Statlander back in December. Now you build up towards Hikaru Shida versus Kris Statlander, possibly at Full Gear. And I do see Full Gear between Kris Statlander and Hikaru Shida, and Kris Statlander is going to win the title then. After the first match that they had, after that first one-on-one match that they had, I expect Kris Statlander and Hikaru Shida to absolutely fucking tear the house down. I do. I really do. Where does Nyla Rose go from here? I'm expecting down the card. I feel as though she would benefit from going away for a few weeks. I definitely can see a rematch between Shida and Nyla Rose happening at Fyter Fest, and Shida gets one title defense in there. We could possibly see Big Swole in the championship title picture. Penelope Ford, she's been getting a lot of shine. I don't necessarily know who else they have I don't necessarily know if they're going to be able to get Riho. I don't think that the travel restrictions are going to be lifted anytime soon, considering what's going on. They could very well be lifted in July. I'm just hoping we don't have a relapse in the fall when the cold and flu season comes around. But great women's match. Hikaru Shida, big thumbs up from me. In a sense, it needed to happen. It sucks Nyla Rose didn't really get the opportunity to showcase what she can really do with the championship. But this, in a sense, again, it needed to happen because if Hikaru Shida didn't win here, it would have hurt her in the long run. Jon Moxley versus Mr. Brodie for the AEW World Championship. I expected this match to be good. I didn't expect it to be a fucking war. This was a fucking war. And when I say war, I mean a fucking war. This only went about 15 and a half minutes, but they beat the ever-living shit out of one another. They did not give a shit. They just went balls to the wall with this match. I loved every minute of it. This was a great World Championship match. And if they wanted to, this could have main evented the show. If they wanted to, this could have main evented the show. This could have easily main evented the show. Jon Moxley came in with a big tope suicida to Brodie. Brodie with a big tope of his own. Brodie with an exploder suplex into the steel guardrail that was propped up on the outside to Moxley. Moxley's body bent the guardrail. Mox with a Gotch-style pile driver. He got the big man up, but Brodie kicked out. Moxley was set up on the steel steps. Brodie was going for a power bomb, but Brodie got back body dropped over Moxley's shoulder into the timekeeper's area. He landed on about at least 5 or 6 steel chairs. We had a big superplex by Brodie. Moxley got a small package, but Brodie was able to kick out. Brodie then spotted the big cards, the setup piece on the outside, the big poker chip playing cards, and he did a half Nelson suplex to Moxley into the playing cards that they had set up. Brodie Lee threw Moxley back into the ring, hit a big boot and a big powerbomb for a 2. Moxley was then able to throw Brodie Lee onto the rampway, and they were brawling on the rampway. Moxley delivers a paradigm shift. So picture Moxley on top of the ramp, and he literally does a paradigm shift off of the ramp through the wooden pallet that connected the ring and the rampway. Literally, both men went through the wooden pallet and fell into the fucking abyss. As if it was Big Show chokeslamming The Undertaker through the fucking ring. So both men threw the wooden pallet into the fucking abyss. And we had about 5 or 6 referees coming out with gloves trying to check on them, making sure this match could continue. Moxley crawled back into the ring. Moxley staggering. Brodie rises from the ashes and he's bleeding. Not Dustin Rhodes levels of bleeding, but he's bleeding. So Brodie Lee walks into the ring. He goes for his discus lariat. Moxley hits a paradigm shift, but Brodie kicks out at 1. He kicks out at 1. Brodie's got this fucking crazy-ass look on his face as if he's a fucking psychopath. Moxley delivers another paradigm shift, an elevated paradigm shift, right on the back of Brodie's neck. Brodie Lee kicked out at 2. Moxley says, fuck this. He starts delivering elbows to Brodie. Locks in a rear naked choke with the legs wrapped around the body. And Brodie Lee does not tap out. He passes out. And Jon Moxley retains the AEW World Championship in a fucking war. Great World Championship match. Definitely made up for that shitty main event we saw on April 15th between Moxley and Hager. It wasn't their fault, but this definitely made up for that. And you can see why they paired Jon Moxley with Brodie Lee. They worked very, very well together. And you can definitely tell how much investment that they have in Brodie Lee, that they put him in a World Championship match this early. And this is the match that he produced. Brodie Lee proved to you that he can hang in the main event, and he's going to be AEW World Champion one day. And I love how he wasn't pinned, and he did not tap out. He passed out. Brodie Lee still looks like a fucking fighter after he took a paradigm shift through that wooden plate, bleeding, kicked out at 2 paradigm shifts. But by the end of it, Moxley locked in the rear naked choke, and Moxley passed out Brodie Lee. It may go down in the record books as a submission, but Brodie Lee will be remembered for not tapping out. He passed out. Brodie Lee looked legit, and just like Jungle Boy and MJF, no losers in this match. Absolutely no losers in this match. This was great. Moxley looked great. Moxley continues his world championship reign, and he definitely shows you that Brodie Lee is going to be world champion, but last night was not the night. Where does Brodie go from here? I can definitely see Brodie winning the TNT Championship at the beginning of 2021. I believe it's going to come at the hands of Darby Allin. I do definitely see the Dark Order winning the tag team titles from Hangman and Kenny. Perhaps, I would say at the end of July, and we could very well get Hangman and Kenny at All Out, and we're going to see the Dark Order with the tag team titles going into 2021. Brodie Lee is going to become the AEW TNT champion by the beginning of 2021, and the Dark Order will be in a great position as far as championship titles go. They're going to have the tag team titles and they'll have the TNT championship. Brodie Lee, he will be world champion one day. Today was not that day. In a sense, this was a test run, and this was a huge A+ for Brodie Lee. Huge A+ for Brodie Lee. Dark Order looks legit with Brodie Lee as the Exalted One. Brodie Lee proved, again, he can hang in the main event, and he's going to be world champion one day. Great world title match with Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley continues his reign. Now we get Jon Moxley versus Brian Cage. That at Fyter Fest is really, really going to be intriguing. I can't wait to see that. Stadium Stampede match. The Inner Circle versus the Elite. I have to say, I didn't think that it was going to be cinematic. There was something that it was telling me it was going to be, but then the way that they were building it up, it didn't really seem like it was going to be, but by the end of it, it did turn out to be cinematic. And I have to say, this was perhaps the best cinematic produced match throughout this entire pandemic to date. And it's really holding up to what I think is going to be a common trend throughout this entire pandemic until we get the crowds back. I do believe at every single pay-per-view, whether it be WWE or AEW, we are going to see at least one cinematic match on every single pay-per-view, and the streak continued here. I do believe we're going to see one in Your House. I do believe we're going to see one at Backlash. This, spectacular. Brilliance. Pure brilliance. I loved every minute of it. This was beautifully chaotic, beautifully produced, beautifully done, and everyone involved deserves all the praise in this world. This was spectacular. Loved every minute of it. The last three matches definitely brought this show up. This show was average at best. But after the last three matches, after the women's title match, the main event, and the Stadium Stampede, this show went from average to very good. So, the Inner Circle came out all wearing football jerseys. The Elite came out in their normal wrestling gear. They all charged at each other. The ring was in the center at the 50-yard line. Hangman, he came running in on a horse, and he chased Sammy out of the stadium. We had Proud and Powerful taking out Matt Jackson with a flipping gourd buster. We had Kenny with a Snapdragon to Santana. Jake Hager took out Omega. Sammy ended up making his way back. We had Sammy on the receiving end of a twist of fate, selling it like he got killed. Nick Jackson with a big plancha to the outside. Santana with a moonsault taking out the pile. Sammy with a beautiful shooting star press taking out everyone. They all started spreading out across the stadium. Matt Jackson, he climbed the ladder and delivered a fucking moonsault off of the goalpost. Yes, a moonsault off of the field goal post. He's a fucking maniac, is Matt Jackson. So Hangman was still riding around on his horse in the locker room area, and he was looking for Sammy. He parked his horse, he said stay, and he took a little trip to the bar. Go with Hangman. Just take a little trip to the bar. No biggie, just take a little trip to the bar. So, Proud and Powerful, they targeted Omega. They delivered a double powerbomb to Omega through a steel guardrail propped up between a couple of garbage cans, and the guardrail cracked, and Omega landed on the concrete. That was broken up by Matt Hardy, and We then had Matt Hardy in a 2-on-1 disadvantage against Proud and Powerful. They tried to drown him in the pools in the stadium. Literally, the stadium where the Jacksonville Jaguars play literally has at least 5 or 6 pools in there. If that's the case, that's a stadium I want to go to. So they started to drown Hardy, and Hardy, he popped up in different versions of himself, as if he was in the Lake of Reincarnation. We had version 1, we had broken Matt Hardy. He ended up putting Ortiz on a table, and then he back body dropped Santana over his shoulder onto Ortiz through the table. He put Ortiz in a big bell. We had a big bell, and he tolled the bell with Ortiz in it, and then he strapped Ortiz into a wheelchair. So Ortiz, he was taken out. He was strapped to a wheelchair, and we didn't see Ortiz ever again. Santana, he was then locked in the ice machine by Matt Hardy. So he was locked in the ice machine, and Matt Hardy said, "This will help with your inflammation." So we had Hager looking for Hangman. They met at the bar. Hager sat with Hangman, and Hangman said, "You come here to fight, or do you come here to drink?" So they each took a shot, and then they start brawling. So Hager then delivered a Uranagi to Hangman onto the pool table, and then delivered a gut-wrench powerbomb through a regular table setup. Hangman was able to kick out. Kenny, he then came in. He broke 2 bubbly bottles, a little bit of the bubbly bottles, over Hager's head, delivered a V-trigger, and then this was a beautiful spot right here where Hangman was launched off the back of Kenny Omega into a buckshot lariat, sending Hager over the announce table. Not the announce table, the bar. And then they drank some beer, they drank some whiskey, they drank some milk. So then we go back to the field. Jericho's getting pelted with footballs. He sent Matt Jackson into a Jaguar head, and then he delivered the Judas effect to the mascot. So that right there, that was the funniest part of the match for me. The fucking Judas effect to the mascot. That was just casual, like, hey, and the mascot's mocking Jericho. Jericho's like, "Fuck you, Judas effect." Brilliant. So Nick Jackson then did a 100-yard locomotion Northern Lights suplex barrage to Sammy. He did Northern Lights suplex after Northern Lights suplex after Northern Lights suplex to Sammy Guevara. I absolutely love this, even though it was edited. Even though we all know they didn't go 100 yards, but regardless, it was fucking fantastic the way that they edited it. Rick Knox then got super kicked after giving Matt Jackson a flag for excessive celebration. So Matt Jackson and Jericho started brawling. Jericho got super kicked, and then Jericho was draped over the table. Matt Jackson held him down. Nick Jackson was up in the stands. He ran down the stadium stands, running down, getting some momentum, jumped over the railing with a big splash onto Chris Jericho. And then Hangman brought out a line maker and just ran the line maker right over Jericho, so Jericho's face is all white. Jericho's taken out. So Hager's out, Jericho's out, Proud and Powerful's out. Sammy Guevara, he was woken up by the sprinklers, and he thinks he's won. Sammy Guevara thinks he's won. Sammy Guevara, he thinks he's won, and Sammy Guevara is woken up by the sprinklers. He turns around, and Omega and Hardy are with a golf cart. Deja vu. Deja vu from the street fight. So then they chase him into the stands. He's trying to fight them off. A new updated version of Vanguard 1 comes into play, and Sammy gets distracted. Sammy is on the receiving end of a one-winged angel off the stands, at least 40 to 50 feet down, through a wooden pallet. The same wooden pallet that they had Jon Moxley and Brodie Lee go through. A wooden pallet for the win. And the Elite, as I predicted, the Elite get the win. This was beautifully produced, brilliantly booked. I loved every minute of it. It was great, and don't get me wrong, it was great, but some people are saying it was match of the year. Look, I want to be positive. I want to have a positive outlook just as much as the next guy, especially with what's going on right now. But match of the year, calm yourselves down. But it was great. This was beautifully produced. This was perhaps the best cinematic match that we've seen throughout this entire pandemic. I absolutely loved it. I would love to see more cinematic matches throughout the course of the rest of the pandemic until we finally get the crowds back. This was a nice build-up, and when we eventually get blood and guts with a crowd, I think we are going to be in for quite a show. If you have all of these creative minds locked into this match, and this was a cinematic match with no crowd, can you imagine blood and guts with the crowd? So afterwards, we had the fireworks go off in the stadium, the Elite celebrating, and Double or Nothing goes off the air. Overall, very good show. Dustin Rhodes versus Shawn Spear was a fucking embarrassment. Could have done without that. Penelope Ford, Kris Statlander, nothing special. Cody Rhodes and Lance Archer, overbooked, yes. Casino ladder match was not very good. It was a clusterfuck. Outside of that, overall, the show was very, very good. It wasn't overwhelmingly great. It wasn't the best pay-per-view of the year. It's not going to go down as the show that defines All Elite Wrestling, but it was very good. It did a very good job at taking our mind of what's going on around us. We got the right outcomes for a lot of matches, outside of a few fuck-ups here and there. We got a very good pay-per-view. And by the end of it, big thumbs up. I would say 7 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10. Very good show. We got 3 great final matches between Hikaru Shida, Nyla Rose, Brodie Lee, Jon Moxley, and then the Elite versus the Inner Circle. 3 great matches to close the show. And by the end of it, it's pretty much all we can ask for. I can't wait to see what they do on Wednesday. I will be talking about it. I'll be taking my notes. I'll be tweeting about it. And of course, I will be looking forward to Fyter Fest. Can't wait to see when that is. I believe that's going to be at the end of June, if I'm not mistaken. I'll keep you guys updated. We'll see what the details are this Wednesday on Dynamite. And ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of The Rewind. I would like to thank each and every single one of you who tuned into this video. Please, 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 please do not forget to check out all the links in the description. Check out all those links. Like, comment, and subscribe. Help me get to DJ2K. I know you want to. You know you want to. Tell everyone about me. Tell your friends, your family members, your acquaintances, your associates, your pets, everyone about DJ Storms, because everyone wants a piece of the Storms Meister. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm DJ Storms. This has been The Rewind. I will catch you this Wednesday for episode number 9 of Quarantine with Thunder. You guys have a great Sunday. And of course, tomorrow on Blue Riot Podcast, on all platforms where you find your podcast, I'll be doing a review with the Blue Riot. For those of you who only listen to Blue Riot Podcast, please go check that out. I'll catch you guys later.